Hi there. There's talk about the ratings of France and UK these days. Of course, earlier China already decided that it should rate itself and it should not listen to Moody's or S&P's to decide whether it was credit worthy or whatever. Simply because it's a controlled market and the leader of the charges is the ratings agencies that say, well, this country is AAA, so you should invest in it. And this country is not AAA, and so you should withdraw your money. But the question would be, what does it really mean to have the different credit status? Well, it means, of course, that you can create new money and have money available for whatever you want at certain amounts. So if you have a very low rating, you won't get any credit and you won't have any money available to do whatever. And if you have an AAA rating status, then you probably can create the money yourself, and you can spend it the way you like it. So it's a money control thing, and in my theory, it's all about energy, because what do you do with that money? You buy resources, you buy stuff, and all that stuff and those resources are made with energy, fossil fuel energy. So it's an energy control thing to give a lower rating to a country. To say, well, you cannot spend too much more fossil fuels because nothing comes out of you that we like, and or we don't like the competition anymore, so we downgrade you. And that's basically what's been going on. First of all, the banks try to create a reason to downgrade a country, so they undermine their economy. They use all the trinket mentality available. So corrupt politicians, people that think it's going to be let's say a free lunch. And then these people are in debt, which doesn't really mean anything, because you didn't give anything that you owned yourself. You simply printed money and allowed people to buy fossil fuels. But with that debt, you can then hit them around the head and downgrade them after a while. And it's all about energy in that sense that they used to be. And I think that's the important signal that we're getting from these rating wars. We used to have one energy bloc in the world, which was the US dominated energy bloc, and US decided who got energy at what price. So Asia already for years paid $1 more per barrel standard as America, while it's not farther away from the Middle East where it gets its oil. It looks like equal distance if you look at the world map. So that was a control thing. And of course, my theory is that China at a certain point wanted to develop, and the US said, well, no, that's not going to work just like that, because we want to have the oil, we have our own manufacturing and all that stuff. And then the banks decided, well, if we give China, if we allow them to get the oil from the Middle East, and they buy our dollars to buy that oil, then we control that whole oil flow. And they manufacture their stuff over there. We can do that more cheaper, so we get more stuff and we get more happy people, and we can go on for a couple of years like that. And that's fun. That's the Reaganism mentality, which is like, let's have fun now, and if the bus crashes into a wall, and we already know that today, then we can still have had fun, and otherwise we won't have fun. That's boring. We don't do that. That's Reaganism. Reaganism is irresponsible rejoicing and having fun and living for today. Like human beings, first their life expectancy lengthened, and now they're behaving like one-day flies. We simply don't think about tomorrow. So, but the ratings war is actually a signal that energy blocks are breaking up, energy domination blocks, which means that you have a European energy bloc which has now conquered Libya and has control over Iraqi oil through our little Dutch country Shell. And I'm not sure how secure that is, but of course we're also under the umbrella of Russia, strangely enough, which is cooperating very well with Germany. So that's simply a power block. And a power block means, let's say, if you can project power, if you can fend off thieves, then you own something. That's basically the whole principle. There's no ownership per se. There's only your ability to fend off anybody that wants to take it from you. If you can do that, then you own it. And that's with the energy in Europe. And it's logical because we are a whole industrious area, pluriform, many people, and we can work together, and we're not overweight, we're not undereducated, we're not sick, and we don't have a leeching, let's say, medical industry, we don't have a leeching financial industry. We didn't start wars everywhere. We try to behave like decent people, and we are allowed to, so we're not being suppressed by like, I don't have like rich people in Holland. Let's say the richest people in Holland that are in the picture are not arrogant, are not okay, they have their own lives, that's something different. You have your privacy and you can fend it off. But I don't get the vibe of them, that they wouldn't accept anybody else around them. Maybe they do, but they don't let it know. In the US and some other places, that's pretty clear. That if you're poor, then you're worthless. Which is insane nonsense in the carbon economy. I had a discussion with somebody, a very interesting guy from Spain, who worked at the ambassadry of defense. And at a certain point in the discussion of the economy, he came with the same thing. You know, how useful are people? How useful are you to society and stuff like that? That's nonsense, because you do everything with carbon energy. You do everything with fossil fuels. There's very little human utility unless you can operate a machine, which is a very low educated job. So if you can drive a car, which almost everybody can, or if you can push a button, you can produce millions of goods that are useful to other people. You can use like a spoon machine, point, spoons come out of it. What you need is fossil fuels. So if you want to define usefulness, that's a very arrogant way of especially for a very wealthy person, which is drinking wine, not doing very much every day. It's very, very confused and arrogant way of expressing yourself, and it's also resonating. George Bernard Shaw, let's say the old crumpet. I'm not sure what a crumpet is, but I hope it's like a dried out old bun, piece of bread that's not edible anymore. That was kind of suggesting that we should kill everybody that's not useful to society. That's not the way it works. That's not the way society works today. It used to work like that a little bit, like in the last century, where everybody was toiling. And everybody was trying to make the best effort, and it was hard because you have real needs and real criminals and strong people everywhere. These days, you don't have strong people everywhere. You have weak people everywhere. They're all looking at the television and the media and Twitter, and they like to be socially accepted, but it's all digital, virtual, so it's not really socially accepted. You know, if I'm a complete, total Facebook hero, everything is okay on my Facebook status or whatever. What does it mean? It means nothing. It means like I'm a well-kept greenhouse plant with no ambitions whatsoever. That's the way, you know. There's one of the Facebook friends I have that really posts the most lame type of comments. Like if you really have no ambition whatsoever to be an inspiration to anyone, but you want to be socially acceptable, then you post such comments. I think, well, okay. But of course, you know, and the fossil fuel industry that is actually not really very strongly asking us to be useful. They're just asking us to be happy. Is using those media to basically weed out and find the people that can distort that ideal, that picture of perfection, of bliss. And it's already said, there's some laws in Asia now that say, well, if you are a techie, if you know how to program computers, you really should be either licensed or you should be fined heavily for doing any programming. And of course that ties in with hacking. So if you hack something together, if you make a little machine that, for instance, scans a fingerprint and then makes up who it is, and then either pays out or doesn't pay out or whatever. I'm working on a little program right now, which is also, it's programming, it's hacking, it's my idea. Even the exchange of ideas will be a punishable offense in I believe it's Korea, South Korea, or Malaysia. And another country that has such laws is Nigeria. Of course, it's very dangerous to know how things work and to operate them. And it's very dangerous to, let's say, if a monkey finds out how he can open his cage, or how he can push the buttons of the code and open the door, and it can be a dangerous animal. Maybe he wants something else than be in the cage. So anyway, but that's a little bit of a diversion. But that kind of follows from asking how useful is a person these days. A person is absolutely, most of us are not adding to the wealth. We are only using wealth, because we are using, basically the main reason is we're using a resource that cannot be replaced and that cannot be manufactured by us yet. Of course, I'm talking about energy, and it can be manufactured by us, but we're not even allowed to manufacture it, because, let's say, the grid is owned by the energy companies and it's expensive and blah 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 blah. Costs are falling of these systems, by the way, quite significantly, and that's very nice. Because then you become useful, you become a landowner, you have a house. It's not only a money pit, it's not where your money disappears, it's also where it pops up, because you have solar panels on your roof, and even though it's a very small amount of money, it's generated and it's available to the public to use for whatever productive use it is. And maybe you have electric farms that run on solar panels, because you don't need too much electricity to farm land. If you do it right, but then you get utility. Now we don't have utility, and that's a forced situation. We're made consumers, and because we don't have utility, there's power in having the driver of any utility in society, any production, which is fossil fuel energies. And that's where you get your power blocks. If you own the fossil fuel energies, if you are the one that is distributing it, if you are the one that controls the flow of them, then you have a power block that you can exert, you can project, you can say, well, I, America, give grant oil to Europe under the condition that Europe delivers 50,000 televisions to America. And for that reason, we will loan out dollars to our American citizens so that they can go to Europe and buy the Mercedeses or whatever, and buy those televisions. And of course, Europe gets the benefit of having that oil and the labor and all the other stuff. So we're not very greedy, but we do want to have a cut of that energy flow, just like oil companies. And now, if the block breaks up, if US no longer controls all the oil, if it cannot even give it anymore, then you get a UK type situation where the UK doesn't have energy anymore, cannot take care of itself, doesn't produce anything, it only controls the game, and people start getting tired of that. They say, well, if you're not gonna give me anything, fuck off. And these things fall apart. And I think that the primary signal of that happening is when the rating agencies start disagreeing, because only, if that happens, there's two things going on. People really don't understand how finance and economics work, so they start thinking, okay, well, we can print our own money and we'll survive. That doesn't work, because money is worthless, it's paper. And so they will find out, that's like if Greece would go to the drachma all of a sudden and they don't produce anything that Iran likes, then they will have nothing. Because they have a lot of drachmas, they have hyperinflation. Everybody will go there to drink ouzo, which they have to sell for a very low price. But they cannot buy any energy in foreign countries, and they don't have the energy to produce renewable resources, so they're stuck. If you don't have an idea of what you're saying with that rating agency, if you do have an idea of what you're saying with your rating agency, and you're basically saying, well, you may think that we can spend energy at this and this and this rate, but we disagree. We have our own sources, and we can make our own money so that we can spend our energy where we like at the moment. We don't have to adhere to your rules. And of course, the punishment would be that oil in dollars would be cut off from Europe, and there's probably some kind of financial loophole that you can use to achieve that, in order to hide the fact that it's all about oil. But the video is getting too long. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it this morning.